Oh, something happened.
Yeah, it's doing something.
Wow,
it keeps going. Wow, that was a long cheer.
What a way to start the episode.
So thank you both for coming in and
Yes, hello.
yeah. So if you could, AJ and Tara, would you guys introduce yourself and let us know who you are?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm AJ Philthydelphia. I'm a podcast producer and podcast host, I guess, also. I am also one of the editors / producers of this show, I suppose.
This is a show?
It's a show, Ryan. It's a pleasure to work with you. What do you give your background?
Oh, I'm Tara Crawford. I'm a freelance video editor, and I grew up in the area, and we just recently moved back. So I'm also doing editing for this podcast, the show. Yeah, I have a few freelance clients doing video editing work, but
Big time YouTube editor.
big time YouTube editor.
Business
That's me,
Insider
editor
article
for the
haver.
stars. Oh yes, I was in Business Insider. We'll get it out of the way. I don't want to
ladies and
talk
gentlemen.
about it. I don't want to talk about it. We'll get it out of the way.
Say that again. You were in
I was in Business Insider.
crazy. When I found out that you guys worked in something that I was looking into, I was like, wow. So that's kind of divine providence or synchronistic,
Yeah.
meetings or whatever. Because, I was toying with the idea of having a podcast type thing that I would do with our customers because, it's crazy. We're in such a small area, but there's so many amazing, creative, talented people that are here.
Yeah.
And they come into the cafe. I think all of them come into the cafe. So it's pretty cool when I learn about somebody and then, what they do inspires me. And so because you guys have the background in this industry, I thought it was really, great to actually get you guys, as part of my team.
Yeah.
I want to borrow you. So
And it's cool to be involved in stuff in the community like this that can kind of borrow our expertise, but also support a business that we really love.
Yeah, especially
And
coffee
people.
wise and people. But I really do think the stars aligned. One day AJ came home from picking up coffee and breakfast and was like, "Hey, we're doing a podcast with the Great Ferocious." Okay, I'm excited. Didn't even have to really ask. It was just like, this is a new thing we're doing.
Yeah.
So what are you guys drinking?
I have this is what I get every single time.
I think these are our two classics.
This is what I get not only from your cafe, but just this is my baseline for every cafe. It's a vanilla oat milk latte,
Awesome.
iced of course.
I just have a double shot Americano.
We can all get on board with all the drinks here. I love black coffee and I love flavored coffee.
Yeah.
This is a maple syrup oat milk latte.
Yes.
Big fan of the pure maple, so I'm definitely going to be enjoying this while we, at least while it sticks around. And
Yeah.
the goal is for the caffeine to actually pick a little bit of the energy up too, because I'm at the end of the day. I've been working all day, and it was relatively busy, so I need the speed.
Yeah.
I definitely need the uppers to go. So you said you grew up down towards Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it wasn't in Philly proper.
No, I was on the New Jersey side. Across the bridge.
So you did not grow up in Philly.
I grew up around Philly, is what I said. I didn't say in Philly, but also colloquially, it is people down in South Jersey. It's just easiest to say I grew up in Philly.
I hear it.
It's right there. I grew up saying Wooder.
Yeah,
Your
water ice.
regional language, if you will.
Hana.
Home, stuff like that.
Home.
Hoagie.
Wooder.
iPhone,
yeah. But see, I didn't really get much of that accent. The biggest thing I had was Wooder, I think. And then you've told me some other stuff just over the years.
When you're with your family, it comes out. And honestly, so I've caught myself doing it too when I'm around your family because you have 3 siblings,
Yes.
17 nieces and nephews.
Okay, 5.
And listen, when they're all together, it is so South Jersey, and I love it. And I find myself, I'm like, man, it's a cool accent. I wish I'm stick with Hana and a couple 2-3 hot dogs.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad.
hot dogs.
I do have a real appreciation for the language.
I understand. I moved here in 2000, and I came with a West Coast accent. I didn't realize I had an accent, and I've since lost it, and I've thoroughly become Northeastern Pennsylvania. So I've got all the same draws and everything, for sure.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I didn't really I knew about Wooder really was the biggest thing. I was like, yeah, this is a South Jersey thing. And then I went to college up in North Jersey, and North Jersey and South Jersey might as well be separate states, because they are basically it's Philly leaks out into South Jersey and New York leaks out into North Jersey. And so it's like two completely different like cultural places or whatever.
And Kentucky leaks out to here.
Yes, yeah. Well, Kentucky leaks out to kind of everywhere. It like depends on where you. Yeah.
It's the center.
And did you go to college?
Yeah, so I went to college up in North Jersey at William Patterson University. Shout out, go Pioneers! And that's where I met Tara. I had an extended tenure at Willie P. It took me 6 years to get my bachelor's because I was depressed and anxious, and so I failed a bunch of classes.
Classic combo.
So
all you were missing was a drug addiction, I think.
yeah, but I mean, honestly, luckily, like I wouldn't have met Tara if I wasn't there those 6 years, because I met her at the beginning of my final year.
Yeah.
At Willie Patterson, which is so romantic.
Yeah.
We went at the radio station because I was a DJ at the radio station, and Tara had come on as what was your title? You were like
visual director.
Visual
content.
I mean, she took all the pictures for like the website and the like Instagram, which was cool. The first time we met, she said, "Oh, are you Anthony?" Because that's my God-given name.
That's your government name.
Your God-given name.
I had a whole printout of people that worked at the station, and like my first job was to take a headshot of everybody, and I had anxiety, and like I'm like, oh my God, I have to go into this room full of people and like go up to them and be like, "Are you Anthony? Can I take your photo?" And like also, I was kind of just starting out with photography, and I didn't know how to like get poses and personality out of the photos. So like I brought them out to like this brick wall, and I'm like, "What do you think your personality is? Like, what do you want to do?" I'm like, let them do all the legwork.
So mine is me going like this, because I'm like, I was just like thinking, and I was like, I don't really know. I'm just kind of like doing this.
But it was so cute. The reason I went to William Patterson was because I marched drum corps, which is like a marching band sort
for
of thing.
hardcore people.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
You want to stand outside in the summer or offer.
Yeah. Want to torture themselves over the
Generally
summer.
in wool jackets.
Yeah, so I did that, and I was with a group from North Jersey, and like a lot of the people that were there, it was a gap year for me essentially, because I like didn't know what I wanted to do. A lot of people there were like, "There's a great communications department, you know, it's close to the city, you could be away from the valley for a little bit, you know, kind of branch out." So then I did, and then one of the first or second times I saw AJ, he was wearing a drum corps t-shirt, and I was like, "Are you joking? Like nobody knows what that is." And then it was kind of like destined, because really, even though I marched in North Jersey, it's still such a small community, and like nobody really knows what it is. I just have to keep explaining like it's marching band kind of, but like more intense and longer and hotter and
you have to pay for
worse,
it.
and you have to pay for it. But like it's something that we both grew up around.
It's so freaking cute. Oh my God. Yeah. Both of our degrees are technically media production, but she was more video focused and I was more audio focused. And it's funny, I didn't actually think of like podcasting or like radio as like a career, even when I was like pursuing it in college. And like I had been literally like my second or third week of college ever, I was like, I'm going to go to the radio station. I'm going to like, you know, put my name in and like do the whole thing. And so 6 years I was doing radio. And I was like, yeah, this is a fun like hobby thing that I do at school. And then like my fifth year at college, I was like, maybe I do this. Like, you know, like I knew I wanted to do something with media production or whatever, but that's like such a broad, you know, media is like TV, film, like video, audio. It's like everything.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really focus on audio until close to the end of my college career. But
and our degree was very focused on either TV or like broadcast journalism. Or radio, and like social
really
media wasn't like really even anything. Like there was one class.
So what year was this?
This was 2018 was when I graduated. Yeah,
so it was like 2015 to 2019 is when I was.
For you.
So there were influencers at that point, and there was like a pretty strong.
But it was still like so new in terms of like that being a career.
Yeah.
I took one social media class, and that was like all that was available, and it was like my mentor / boss / best friend that taught it, who I worked with in the marketing department. I was also in that boat of like this is what I do for fun. I like make funny videos and do stuff like that for fun. Like I am getting paid for it at the marketing department, but like how am I supposed to do this for a job?
Right.
Like I really thought I was going to be like a photographer, like work in TV or something, which I like wasn't super into, because again, it's like a lot of interpersonal work and I did not want to talk to anybody. Like, it was scary. It was nerve-wracking. And like those TV classes, I think back to them where like I had to like, we all switched around.
Yeah, those TV classes were intense.
It was like basically we had a whole set and
Studio.
we had a studio and a control room, and like for a good few weeks or months, I don't even remember.
It was like the whole semester because there's like 10 stations in the studio plus the stations inside the studio. There's like 10 stations in the control room plus the stations like at the camera or like being one of the directors out there. So it's like you would cycle through every position over the course of that class.
So like you had to be
weren't doing the same
behind
thing.
the camera. You had to be directing. You had to be on camera. You had to be like the talent reading the script. What's that called?
Teleprompter?
Yes, teleprompter. So I've already blocked it out. But like that was like the days where I had to be either like on camera or directing. Oh my God, I'm getting like chills thinking about it. It was scary. It was terrifying. It was like gym class. It was like so much pressure. And I'm like, I don't think I could do that for a job. That's too much. So now I work alone in my office at home.
You edit other people's videos.
Yeah.
And what year did you graduate?
I graduated 2019.
2019. So there's a lot of fairway between your graduation and now. So when you finished, where did you go when you came out of school?
Yeah, I applied for normally I applied for a bunch of things that I found on Indeed and LinkedIn and blah blah blah.
We were
blah.
living in North Jersey at the time. We had got a house together with my brother.
Yeah, we were like, okay, we're like in the tri-state area. We're like in the metropolitan. Like we're gonna like work in New York City, and like we're applying for jobs in New York City. And I get a job in like North Jersey.
North Jersey.
At this woman's house.
For some rich lady, you can say that.
Yeah, she had an agency that she had like a few social media clients, and I was hired to basically do what I did in college, which was just like make content to post on social.
Take people's pictures in front of brick walls.
Yes, like personality shots. But like we had a orthopedic surgeon from NYU Langone that she just like went to and was like, you could use a social media presence. And he said, okay.
Oh, sick.
And so then I had to like go into their offices and like take photos of him like doing ankle surgery and like, I don't know. It was just, I love the content side of it. I don't like the social media marketing side of it because it's just like, I found that it's so tone deaf sometimes, especially if you're working for an agency where it was like the day of the insurrection and I still had to post like, buy your eyeglasses case box because we have a sale. And like, I would get in trouble if I didn't because it was my job to do that.
Right.
And like, I can't have like a one-on-one conversation with people that own this business because it's not my job. I just have to post and I have to schedule and I have to send them the content calendar. And it was like really weighing on me. I'm like, this is disgusting.
It's really dry.
Like, I don't want to do it.
I think it's worth noting too, you were doing like 3 or 4 people's jobs.
Yeah. It was
several different companies.
I was running like multiple accounts. I was doing the bare minimum because like I couldn't.
As any good American should.
But like it was so like that's what I was doing full time. And then once the pandemic started, it was like we pulled back hours for that, and then the clients were dropping, and then I had to pick up work with, at that same time I was doing some work with YouTubers. Basically, as soon as I graduated, I reached out to some of my favorite content creators. Elena Tabor was one of them. Shell Bizzle, Shelby Orm was one of them. The Sorry Girls, I did apply for a remote position in 2019 for the Sorry Girls, which is like this huge channel that I was like in love with. They were like, it was like, that's my dream job. When I graduated, I'm like, that is the goal. And now I work for them. Like I'm getting on a meeting, like a Google Hangout meeting with them tomorrow, which is still insane to say, but like.
If I can gas you up for a moment, you sent in that application right before graduation because they were looking for people. At graduation, she got the email. It was like, hey, we'd love to send you the next step. And she did the next step.
Yeah, no, it was insane. As the confetti dropped, I was filming and I get a notification. It said from the Sorry Girls administration, hey, congrats, we chose you to and I was like, oh, okay.
So she made it to like the round of like 3 or 4 people doing like a secondary edit. And then they wound up going with somebody local. And then last July, she just got it. It was just a cold email, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're looking to hire.
They said, thanks for applying. I was like, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, and so it turned out their current editor, their longest time like main editor, remembered her application from 2019. Like her work was so good.
What?
And was like,
Yeah,
hey, we're looking for new people. You should reach out. You should. And I told her it's the only time in history that a business has said, we'll hold on to your information and we'll get back to you
That's
if an
true.
opportunity arises, and actually reached out
Yeah.
after that.
Not only
It's
that,
like,
but how many years later?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like 5 years, 4
That's
years.
Yeah.
that's incredible.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
So
Dude, I can't even remember yesterday.
I know.
So I've been working with them
It's so
for
cool.
over a year, and I have like just like this great group of clients that are all like lifestyle YouTubers, sustainability YouTubers, like all content creators, and I really love like every single one of them. And it's so like that I started doing that little by little, phasing out the social media marketing, and I never want to do it again.
Yeah,
And like
awesome.
I'm only ever going to do editing
Yeah.
from now on, which I'm so lucky to say that I can like choose. I can be picky with what I do. And
That's
like
awesome because you are your own master.
I really am. Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse for
Oh,
real.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, we all understand here
I
how
haven't-
much that rocks.
I don't
and
think I've
sucks.
left this building in a couple
Yeah,
of days
yeah.
at this point. You know, no, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, was there a point after graduation where you just knew that you had to create your own pathway?
Oh God. Honestly, it takes me a really long time to like recognize like things and like patterns, if that makes sense. Like it took me a few months into that social media job where to realize that I was a freelancer or a sole proprietor, or I didn't know what a 1099 was. I didn't know how to do my own taxes, and all of that came very slowly to me.
Sure.
And I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like I'm still getting on top of paying taxes. Like I'm still getting in the hang of being like my own girl boss. You know what I mean? The conscious switch was a little hard because it was in like 2021, I want to say, that I stopped doing the social media. I worked with it for like a really, really long time, like too long, I think.
Okay, sure.
Because I recognized that it was kind of oogie that I didn't like doing it in like 2019, like honestly as soon as I started working. And I just kept doing it because I was too scared to like, because like the clients ebb and flow for editing, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do the full.
Yeah, that was like your only consistent work that you were doing every week.
So in 2021 I finally said like I can do this on my own. I'm finally like in a comfortable enough spot that I can.
So basically, you just set your sights, and then you continue chipping away.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting on both of our parts that like the decision to be like, yeah, I'm a full-time freelancer. That's like my job was like not. I had no plans of being like a freelance, like work for myself kind of person. It just kind of like I started doing it a little bit while I was working at a cafe for a few years. And then I would do like 1 or 2 podcasts like on the side.
During school or after school?
After school.
Okay.
Both. During and after.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've been working in.
Yeah, I worked
cafes
off and on in cafes for like 5 or 6
2015 or
years, something like that. Yeah.
So are you your timed extractions? Your
Oh yeah. Well, I've only gotten worse. Like I've gotten more into like coffee and timed extractions and weight and stuff like after I stopped being a barista, because I think it was like when I was a barista, I was like, yeah, this is cool, it's fun, I like making coffee, whatever.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I was like, I miss like, you know, the big machine at work and stuff. And so we bought a espresso machine, and I've been doing that, and then started watching a bunch of YouTube videos and like learning. I love to learn.
One thing about me, I love to learn.
learning. Yeah, so
You're hired.
But yeah, back to my original point, was like I was doing cafe stuff, and then I was doing a little bit of podcasting on the side, and then the pandemic hit. My brother got sick, and so I couldn't work for 2 weeks because it was like the very beginning of the pandemic.
Okay.
And then
So you were on quarantine.
I was on quarantine, and I was like, what if I just didn't go back? Because at that point, I was also, you know, I was able to collect unemployment because also our hours got slashed to like garbage. So I was collecting the unemployment from the state at that time and my podcast stuff. And I was like, what if I just use this as an opportunity to like really try and stack up some clients and like maybe do this? And so like that part was on purpose, but like there was no like long-term vision. It was just like all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
And what if I could like do something that I like really love, you know?
Yeah, and that you're very good at.
Thank you.
You're very good.
AJ has been featured in a lot of articles like NPR.
Okay.
Also did work with John Hamm Like,
Well, okay. I worked
you
on a
did.
podcast that John Hamm had recorded. John Hamm does not know who I am. John Hamm doesn't
John
even
Hamm
know
loves
that I
it.
touched the.
At John Ham.
get him on the podcast.
let's get an
But-
autograph
yeah,
or
but
something.
So there's so many
That's-
cool,
I-
like random bits that
Yeah.
have happened. People that we've looked up to or loved their content
Mhm.
or just anything like that. We were
Yeah.
like on a first name basis with,
Yeah.
friends with them, like on Discord.
Yeah.
Like it's
Can reach out to them casually, and then they'll be like, oh,
yeah,
and they'll
just
respond
like
back.
chat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
it's
that's
very
just
cool.
cool to honestly not to be like, but like that's just cool to me as like sitting here at like my favorite local cafe, like
Yeah.
being on a podcast and also being in like the behind the scenes of it.
We
Like
love connecting.
I think one thing about me is just like I care too much.
I care too much.
That's like my biggest weakness. Is I just like care too much.
My biggest weakness, I'm unable to talk to people without sounding like an asshole.
That is not true.
Yeah.
At least for me. I don't get that.
Yeah.
So you guys are now locals. So how did that unfold? How did you move from the big city of Philthydelphia to can I say the name of the town? Is that all right?
Yes, of course.
Mocanaqua.
Yeah.
Love Mocanaqua.
Love Mocanaqua.
So we were looking in this area, like we kind of started with Kingston and like had our radius,
Yeah.
like as far out as we
To
could.
Mocanaqua was like
Yeah.
our farthest.
So
Really?
something popped up on Zillow. It was actually a different house than what we're in right now. It
Oh,
was
house
just like
so cute.
one right on the river. And the landlord just like did not get back to us.
So weird.
So the house we are in now is like at the top of our budget because like we wanted to move somewhere like we were paying less, so we would put whatever that extra overflow was into like savings and stuff. That was our goal. Then we found this one house that was like right at the tippy top, and it had like a wood burning fireplace, a huge yard, and I could see the dog that I was gonna get. I could like see it all so beautifully,
Yeah.
like just sitting at a fire in the living room, and then like the dog running around in the yard. And
There's
then,
something about a wood fireplace.
It is
It's cute. It's
oh,
really nice too, and it's like,
It's like
the
a
si- it's like
focal
smaller
point.
than this table.
Yeah.
And we had it. We get serviced at the beginning of every year or whatever. And the guy who came this year was like, "Wow, I could just like pick this thing up and put it in my truck and leave." I'm like, "Please don't." It's just like so tiny and come back. He's like,
What
"This
did
is
he say?
He's like, "This is a really cute little stove. I could just put this right in my truck and go." I'm like, "I don't do that,
I'm
please."
not gonna. But like,
I would never.
So, what are some of your favorite things about? Well, I guess it'd be for you primarily, but like that you enjoy about the area, because we are in kind of like a special kind of enclave. You know, like there's like New York is just the same distance practically as Philly, so like we've
Yeah.
got a lot of like major metropolitans and within striking distance, and then here it's like so inexpensive to live. Crime is relatively low. Poverty, there's definitely some poverty because of the holdovers of the Depression and all, but and like the mines moving out. But it's really a different area, I think, from like most of the areas that people are living in. I
yeah.
don't know where I'm going with this, but like, what do
I know. I get what you're saying.
you
Like,
think about the area?
Oh yeah.
I feel like growing up here, there was a certain sense of like, I can't wait to get out. Like that was all of my friends said in high school. It was like, can't wait to leave the valley. And then there was like a myth that was like, if you don't leave the valley, you're never leaving. And I wasn't born here. I was born in upstate New York. I moved here when I was 5. So like, I say that I'm from here,
Sure.
but I still kind of looked at it from like an outsider perspective. I feel like I didn't like get a lot of the things that everybody was saying. And then I kind of subscribed to that same feeling of like, God, I hate it here. Like, I don't want to be here. There's nothing here. It's no fun, whatever. And then when I moved out on my own and I came back, I was like, oh my God, what was I like? What was I thinking?
Yeah, every time we would come back for a holiday, we would like go to wherever we would go to like these spots. She's like, I love it here, and I got blah blah blah.
Yeah,
all
like
these
I had
stories about all these
this
places.
this routine that like when I would come to visit, I'd be like, I gotta take you to Canteen, and I gotta take you to Hillside, and I gotta take you hiking at Francis Slocum, like all of my favorite places. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many places. You don't like. I didn't realize that until I left, and I had one friend that was from North Jersey, and like this is something I think that like really made me think differently. He grew up in North Jersey his whole life, and he came to pick me up for drum corps. He's like, I got off of the turnpike and like I got slapped in the face with mountains, and I'm like, I've never like you just live like this. I'm like, oh, I guess so.
I guess so.
And
Yeah.
literally since that moment in like 2015, I've been like looking at it differently. I'm like, oh, I love looking out of my window and seeing these mountains and
This
like
is the Poconos.
yeah, like
You know?
it's it's really beautiful, and like I didn't appreciate it, and now I'm trying to appreciate like every single moment. So like I personally, I love the nature.
Yeah.
I love how quiet it is, and like the Mocanaqua Shikshini area, I love how small it is.
Is
I
it
love
Five
our
Mountains?
neighbors.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Five Mountains. Yeah, that area is Five Mountains. Yeah.
It's just like there's great people, you know.
Right on the Susquehanna, which is
Yes.
the oldest river in the world, arguably. Did you guys know that?
I
No.
didn't.
Yeah, this Susquehanna River system is arguably the oldest river system in the world.
Wow.
Do you know how they age a river? Like how to?
They
I think they ask it really.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just buy a
ask it
birthday cake and say, "Are we
politely.
close?"
Are we close? I felt the same way about Philly.
Mhm.
Like,
Well,
in my
South Jersey.
well, no, about Philly, because in my mind I was like, if I move to Philly and that becomes like where I live, I have failed. I have not left home.
Mhm.
Like I still live where I grew up, and like that's a bad thing.
Interesting.
And like that's just not true.
Yeah.
You know, I do think there is kind of a feeling around here, especially because it is so kind of like you said, it's like 2 hours away from New York and 2 hours away from Philadelphia. It's like it's kind of, for lack of a better phrase, like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's definitely not, but
Yeah.
it feels like it sometimes.
And that's the perception that we
Right.
have,
Yes,
that
the
people
perception,
have
for
on,
sure.
to this area too.
Yeah.
exactly.
Which little do they know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's actually in the middle
and
of
that's-
everything.
Yeah.
It's something I'm like lucky enough to have been able to go to school somewhere else and
Mhm.
come back and see it with those eyes,
Yeah.
because not a lot of people can, and
I
I
mean,
didn't realize any of that until I left.
Mhm.
our favorite thing to do is really just to get out into the hills, get out into the woods.
Mhm.
You know, even if we're only out there for like 45 minutes walking,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just right here. you know.
Yeah.
I came from Portland, so kind of for sure a city kid.
Mhm.
Moving into Glen Lyon with the woman I love, so it was definitely an adjustment. But right away, just being able to grab our dogs and walk out the back porch and then up one block, and then we're in the woods.
Yeah.
And you can walk back for hours, just keep going. And there's, you know, all the old coal mining tracks and everything are out there.
Yeah.
Quads have like basically built permanent, you know, trails.
Yeah.
And so it's just really cool. It blew my mind how like special and unique and you know, kind of set aside the area was.
Mhm.
One of my first experiences was the Mocanaqua picnic, the St. Mary's picnic, I think.
Oh
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, so the St. Mary's picnic happens at the end of the summer every year in Mocanaqua, and it's like a time capsule. Like my first time there was, I think, Stanky and the coal miners playing polka.
Nice.
The dance floor was packed with people dancing polka. They had a booze booth. You could go and buy tons of beer. I don't even think they were checking IDs. Gambling, and then they had plant bingo. You know, so it was like things that I never saw before.
Yeah.
And
Like a
just-
church bazaar is a really great introduction to.
yes, if you've never
the
been to
valley.
anything like it,
Yeah.
it's like
It's a great summer activity.
yeah, and it's seriously stuck in 1940, 1950. Like it really is like walking into the past. So like it's cool that it's been kind of preserved. So I wanted to ask being that you guys are like pretty much self-employed, you guys work for yourselves. So what does your average day look like? Like a work day. Let's say, what time do you like to wake up in the morning?
Well, depends.
Well, yeah, we would like to wake up at like 6:30 or 7, but realistically, it's like 8 or 9,
yeah.
sometimes 10.
I've been
Sometimes
yeah,
11.
I've been trying, but also we have sometimes like really late nights where we're working
Yes.
to like 9 or 10 or
Yeah.
midnight or like whatever. So or the days after those nights we can sleep
We
in a
sleep
little
in,
bit.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's kind of a vicious cycle at that point,
yeah.
because then you start work late, and then you're working late. You're
Yeah.
working late into the night, and then you're like, well, I'm so
we
tired.
try to stick to a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work, but we try our best.
So do you guys think you're putting in like 40-hour work weeks? Or?
Probably more.
I would say she's probably
I'm
doing more.
definitely
Yeah,
more recently too.
yeah.
It kind of
Yeah, I think it's
balances
close,
out
it
because like
depends.
some weeks it's not that busy, and then
Yeah.
other weeks like, you know, the beginning of the year for me is always kind of crazy because people are coming off of holidays, and like a lot of people's New Year's resolution is like to get more consistent on
Yeah.
YouTube. So like I get a bunch of like new clients
Mhm.
and regular clients that are like, I'm gonna do this kind of format or this, and I'm gonna get weekly videos and like whatever. So
Yeah.
like those like sometimes
So
the
like basically your
seasons.
workstation turns into a gym.
yeah.
Basically, yeah.
A bunch of people with New Year's resolutions. I'm gonna work out more.
Yeah.
Our like November to February is like an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Like we don't have people over. Our house is not clean because we have holidays and stuff that we're like traveling for. We're doing stuff. A couple of the shows I work on ramp up toward the holiday and then tail off at the beginning of the year. But then when I'm ebbing, she starts to her stuff peaks.
Because
so
people
it's just like
are
a nightmare for
they
3
want to
months.
take off for the holiday, and then that means that we have to like double up on stuff. And for vacations, we usually take a week off a year with my family, sometimes more if we do something with his family or whatever. But like, it's not a week off; it's like 3 weeks on and for a week off.
Okay, sure.
So like
you have to make that time up.
At the beginning of August, I message all my clients. I say, here are here's my annual notice that I'm going out in September. So like, if you want anything uploaded those weeks, get it to me now so I can, double up. And I'm like working doubles like those weeks to make sure that I could take that week off. But like, I'm not complaining. I love it.
It's obvious. You guys are definitely in your place. If you had advice to offer anybody thinking about maybe going into social media, either content creation or on the back end of the production side of things, do you have anything that you'd like to share?
I think my thing is to just try stuff. Even if you're working for somebody else, like you're working on somebody else's show or somebody else's content or whatever you want to call it, try stuff, because the worst thing that happens is they say, I don't like this, can you take it out? And the best thing that happens is that they love it and you have, like learned a new skill or something. I know I'm constantly changing the way that I mix shows or like EQ shows or like throwing in, music or just like jokes or bits or whatever, like punching stuff up. Most of the time it works out and like the client likes it, or like people who are listening to the show are like, oh my gosh, I loved this bit or whatever. And then there are some times where it's like, oh, this one's kind of a stinker, but I tried it, but yeah, so that would be my piece of advice. I think just like try stuff, see what works.
I like that. In the same vein, I think this sounds like something that you could buy on a pillow at Home Goods, but like be your authentic self, because like your voice is unique and you're the only you, and like there's things that only you know how to do. And like I know that with editing and social media and stuff, like it's a lot of the same stuff, but like with certain edits, it's like nobody would remember this reference that I'm pulling out this random reference that I remember from a movie, and it like fits perfectly in this one moment, so I'm gonna do that. And like your client may not like it or whatever, but like in that same thing, like your brain is so unique, and like the things that you know and the things that you're referencing and the things that you're creating are so unique. So just like follow through with that and somebody will enjoy it.
Yeah, people resonate with it.
You guys are so inspirational. You really are. You inspire me.
Aww.
Yeah, very much so. I want to keep talking. I know that we've probably got to wrap it up.
I know, we could keep going for hours. But...
I want to talk about video games. That's the other podcasts that you do.
A couple of video game podcasts, stuff like that.
You want to shout them out?
If you're looking for a video game show with basically two best friends who kind of just talk about whatever they're playing that week, you can listen to Into the Aether. That's a low-key video game podcast, but they're two of the most like high-key people that I've ever met in my life.
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. I just started a new show with some friends. We're calling it .zip, which is about really short games made by like one or two people that you can finish in an evening, because video games are getting too long. And there's so many small games or like experiences or whatever out there. And we want to really highlight that stuff, and we want to get that stuff in our lives.
Plus, you're talking about people that are developing it, and they might not be like well known or anything. So it's cool to
we
show that exposure.
At the time of this recording, we released our first episode last Monday, not this past Monday, Monday before, and we got an email from the person that made the game. They found our show somehow. They didn't have they don't have social media, so we couldn't like tag them or anything. But we got an email from them that was like, "Hey, I found your show. I listened to it. I loved it. You guys are like thank you so much for playing my game and whatever." And,
awesome.
Like it was so cool. It like brought tears to my eyes, because it was like, I think it's easy to forget that like a game developer is also just a person like creating something. They're like you're playing a game to have fun, but also it is like a personal expression. And so I think with smaller games especially, that personal expression really comes through, and it like really it's just like a super special experience. And so when people reach out and like, hey, thank you for experiencing this thing that I made. It's just like so cool. So that's not it. Thank you so much. The last show I'll shout out is Frog of the Week.
Frog of the Week,
which every Monday, most Mondays, it's like a 3 to 4 minute podcast where my friend Kim does a bunch of research about one frog, talks about it. You get to hear the call of the frog in the podcast, and then and that's the whole show. And why she likes it, and that's the whole show. Weirdly, that is the show that has gotten the most press.
Awesome.
Like immediately, we made that show as a complete joke. Like me and 4 of my friends made the show. It was like a total goof. You know, we were all like have different skill sets or whatever, and we just like did this thing, and then. Like I don't know, 5 weeks into it, we were in an NPR article. It was like, "Hey, you should listen to this podcast." I'm like, "Whoa, wait! This is a joke. I'm doing a joke."
How many species of frogs?
So many, Brian.
Okay.
So like think whatever number you think it is, multiply it by like 100. There's so many species of frogs. We will die before we run out of species to talk about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you,
everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they gave me the confidence to buy some really, really cheap equipment and just slap together the things I needed to be able to do this podcast / video, whatever it is. And I got these 2 cameras off of Wish that were recording video. They both said they were 1080p.
One said 4K.
Well, that's it. It said 1080, but as soon as they opened up the file, it was 4K.
Yeah.
So we had a little camera that could, and that camera, the other one died. So
Oh really?
yeah, it died. It died with the last interview.
Hey, look, it did what it needed to do.
Yeah,
you know?
it did. It got me.
Yeah.
It got me
started,
going.
yeah.
And it got me to buy these used Canons, and
Yeah.
And it looks great.
And we're stepping it up, and I've got a great support system with you guys too, and I'm so grateful to have you here.
Well, thanks for the invite.
We love working on the show. We're so happy to be on the show. It's very fun.
This is, like I said, this is still a dream come true. That like a year ago, we came in here. I was like, their coffee is like really good, and now
they're cool.
And they're really cool, and I kind of want to be their friends. I'm like, here we are. Like, no, this is crazy. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I love you guys. So.
Aww.
Yeah.
I've been doing this recently. Can you do that?
Oh God, I can't do it.
I can't do
my
that.
My hands
no.
are too.
No,
okay, wait, I got
though.
it. There we go.
There it is.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
West Side.
West Side.